In the quiet moments of our lives, comfort whispers its seductive promise. Rest a little longer. Start tomorrow. Wait until you feel ready. This illusion of comfort is the silent architect of stagnation. It's not that people lack potential or intelligence, it's that they become prisoners of their own comfort zones, mistaking temporary ease for lasting happiness. Every time you choose comfort over action, you reinforce a pattern that quietly erodes your ambition. The cost of inaction is rarely felt in the moment. It accumulates in the background, manifesting as missed opportunities, unfulfilled dreams, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction. The truth is, comfort never builds a better life. It only maintains the status quo. Growth, on the other hand, is inherently uncomfortable. It demands that you stretch, risk, and sometimes fail. But the pain of discipline is always less than the pain of regret. If you want to change your life, you must first recognize that comfort is not your friend. It is the enemy of progress. The life you want is not waiting for you in the soft, familiar routines of yesterday. It is forged in the fires of discomfort, in the moments when you choose to act despite fear, fatigue, or uncertainty. The first step to improvement is to stop negotiating with comfort and start demanding more from yourself. Every time you override the urge to delay, you reclaim a piece of your power. The world does not reward potential, it rewards action. If you want to see change, you must become someone who values progress over comfort, who understands that the cost of inaction is a life half-lived. Your potential will never reach its full expression if you remain locked in the prison of comfort. The choice is always yours. Settle for comfort or rise to the challenge of your own potential. But understand this. Every day you choose comfort, you are also choosing to remain exactly where you are. And if where you are is not where you want to be, then comfort is not your salvation, it is your cage. There is a unique kind of heaviness that comes from avoidance. It's the weight of unfinished tasks, unspoken words, and unresolved problems. Every day you wake up and carry this invisible burden, whether you acknowledge it or not. The longer you avoid what needs your attention, the heavier it becomes. This is the weight of neglect, and it is the silent thief of your energy, focus, and self-respect. Improvement does not begin when circumstances are perfect. It begins the moment you decide to confront what you've been running from. The hardest part of any journey is often the first step, the decision to face what you've ignored. But the truth is, the pain of avoidance always outweighs the discomfort of action. When you finally stand up and address the things you've been postponing, you experience a profound shift. The task may still be difficult, but the act of facing it restores your sense of agency. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you are directing it. This is the moment when change becomes possible. Most people wait for the right time to begin, but there is no perfect day. There is only today and the willingness to face what matters. If you want to grow, you must stop looking away from your problems and start looking them in the eye. Every problem you confront shrinks in the light of action. Every problem you ignore grows in the darkness of neglect. The path to improvement is paved with the courage to face what you've been avoiding. That is where real progress begins. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of the thing you're most afraid to face. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a financial reality, a health issue, or a habit you can't break, the solution begins with acknowledgement. You cannot fix what you refuse to see. You cannot change what you deny. So the first and most powerful act you can take is to turn around and face it directly. That single act of courage will shift something inside you, and from that moment forward, you are no longer running, you are moving towards something better. One of the most persistent lies we tell ourselves is that we will start tomorrow, next week, or when we feel more ready.
This myth of the perfect time is a trap that keeps countless people stuck in cycles of procrastination and regret. The reality is, there will never be a perfect moment to begin. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often inconvenient. Waiting for ideal conditions is just another form of avoidance, a way to justify inaction while pretending you're being strategic. The truth is, readiness is a decision, not a feeling. If you are not willing to start now, you are unlikely to start later. The conditions you are waiting for may never arrive, and every day you delay is a day lost to the inertia of comfort. The people who achieve real growth are not those who wait for the stars to align, they are the ones who act in spite of uncertainty. They understand that progress is made in the present, not in some imagined future. The only way to break free from the myth of the perfect time is to take action today, with whatever resources, energy, or motivation you have. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the most important. Once you begin, momentum builds, and what once seemed impossible becomes manageable. The perfect time is a fantasy. The only time you have is now. If you want to change your life, stop waiting and start moving. The journey to improvement begins the moment you decide that today is good enough. Think about how many times you've said, "I'll start tomorrow." How many times has tomorrow become the next day and the next day until weeks have passed? This is the trap of the mythical future. You rob yourself of present progress by betting on future conditions. But here's the reality. The future will bring new challenges, new obstacles, and new reasons to delay. The only guaranteed time you have to act is right now. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need perfect circumstances. You need to make a decision and follow through on it immediately.
Real change cannot begin without radical honesty. You must be willing to look at yourself without the filter of excuses, without the armor of justifications, and without the comfort of self-deception. This honesty is uncomfortable because it strips away the stories you've been telling yourself about why you haven't changed. You might tell yourself that you're lazy, or that circumstances have held you back, or that you're waiting for inspiration. But these are often just stories you've constructed to explain the gap between who you want to be and who you are. True improvement begins when you stop hiding behind these narratives and start acknowledging the simple truth. You have made choices that led to your current situation, and you have the power to make different choices now. This is both terrifying and liberating. It's terrifying because it strips away the ability to blame external factors. It's liberating because it means you are not a prisoner of your circumstances. You are the architect of your future. Honesty requires asking yourself difficult questions and answering them truthfully. Have you been avoiding a responsibility? Admit it. Have you been using your feelings as an excuse to not act? Own it. Have you been settling for less than you know you deserve? Acknowledge it. The moment you stop defending yourself and start admitting the truth, something shifts. The weight of denial lifts. You no longer have to spend energy maintaining a false narrative about yourself. Instead, that energy can be redirected toward actual change. Honesty also means being honest about your capacity and your circumstances while still refusing to use them as excuses. You might be tired, but that doesn't mean you can't do one useful thing today. You might be struggling, but that doesn't mean you can't make one better choice. This kind of honest acknowledgement, seeing clearly where you are while still choosing to move forward, is the hallmark of genuine growth. The people who transform their lives are not those who wait for perfect conditions. They are those who see their reality clearly and decide to act anyway. Your future depends less on your circumstances and more on your commitment to honesty about where you stand and where you want to go.
The biggest obstacles to your growth are not dramatic or obvious. They are small, quiet, insidious. They are the tiny lies you tell yourself every single day. Just 5 more minutes of scrolling. I'll do it tomorrow. I deserve this treat after a hard day. Just this once won't hurt. These are not big statements. They sound reasonable. They feel justified. But when you examine them closely, you see them for what they are, small agreements with your weaker self. Each one seems insignificant in isolation, but they are not isolated. They accumulate, they compound, they become patterns, and patterns become identity. This is how people get stuck, not through one catastrophic failure, but through thousands of small compromises. The voice that makes these quiet agreements is insidious because it sounds like reason, it sounds like self-care, it sounds like balance. But what it's really doing is protecting your comfort at the expense of your growth. The voice says things like, "You've been working hard, you deserve to skip this," or "Life is short, why not just relax?" These statements have a surface appeal, but underneath them is a fundamental lie, that your current comfort is more important than your future potential. The problem with these small lies is that they are so easy to defend. You can rationalize them, you can justify them, you can build an entire philosophy around them. But deep down, you know the truth. You know that every time you listen to that voice, you're choosing the easier path over the path that leads to growth. The key to breaking free from these small lies is to recognize them for what they are: tests. Every time you hear that voice making excuses, offering justifications, suggesting delays, you are being tested. The test is simple. Will you protect your future, or will you protect your comfort? Will you honor your commitment to yourself, or will you break it with another small lie? The people who transform their lives are those who stop making quiet agreements with their weakness. They refuse to entertain the small justifications. They cut off the conversation before it starts. They understand that discipline is not built in moments of inspiration. It's built in moments when the easier choice is available, and they choose the harder one anyway. Every time you resist a small lie, you build strength. Every time you refuse to make that quiet agreement, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. And that proof, accumulated over time, becomes unshakable self-belief. One of the most destructive myths in personal development is that you should wait until you feel motivated before you act. This is backwards. The truth is, action creates feelings, not the other way around. When you feel tired, demotivated, anxious, or overwhelmed, that is precisely when you need to act the most. Because the moment you take action, something shifts. Your body wakes up, your mind engages, your energy begins to return. This is not about forcing yourself into burnout. It's about understanding that feelings are temporary, but your life is shaped by what you do repeatedly. If you only move when you feel energized, you will move very infrequently. If you only work when you feel motivated, you will accomplish very little. The world is full of people waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel inspired. And while they wait, they are stagnating. Meanwhile, the people who achieve extraordinary things are those who understand that confidence comes from doing, not from thinking about doing. The person you want to become is not hiding somewhere, waiting for you to feel worthy enough to unleash them. That person is already inside you, but they are trapped behind all the things you're avoiding. The way to free them is through action. Every time you do something that scares you, despite the fear, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every time you follow through on a commitment, despite not feeling like it, you rebuild trust with yourself. Every time you push through fatigue and accomplish something anyway, you remind yourself of your own strength. These moments of action, strung together consistently, rewire your nervous system. You begin to believe that you can handle difficulty. You begin to trust yourself, and that trust becomes the foundation of real confidence. This is why discipline is so powerful. Discipline is not about feeling good, it's about acting right regardless of how you feel. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the mechanism that turns intention into reality. And the remarkable thing about discipline is that it doesn't require motivation. It requires only a decision and a commitment to honor that decision when it becomes inconvenient. The path to strength is not paved with good feelings. It's paved with hard decisions made in moments when you don't feel like making them. This is the real power of self-improvement, understanding that you don't need to be perfect, you don't need to feel great, you don't need ideal conditions, you just need to act. And when you commit to action, regardless of your feelings, you become unstoppable.
If you have ever looked at someone who has achieved something remarkable and wondered what makes them different, the answer is often simpler than you think. It's not that they were smarter, more talented, or more fortunate, it's that they had the courage to face what others run from. This courage is the universal separator between those who grow and those who stay stuck. It's not a rare quality. Everyone has access to it, but most people never develop it because it requires practicing in small ways first. Every time you face something difficult, whether it's a hard conversation, a challenging task, or an uncomfortable truth, you build courage. And courage, like any muscle, grows stronger the more you use it. The tragedy is that most people go through life without ever discovering how much courage they actually have. They avoid the difficult thing, and in avoiding it, they never get to experience the strength that comes from facing it. The fear tells them they can't handle it. They listen to that fear, and they never find out that they can. This creates a vicious cycle. The more you avoid difficulty, the more your fear grows. The more you convince yourself that you can't handle hard things, the smaller your world becomes. You start avoiding more and more until your entire life is organized around avoiding discomfort. And this is no way to live. The alternative is to deliberately practice courage in small ways. You start with something manageable but uncomfortable. You face it, you survive it, and in surviving it, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. This proof becomes the foundation for facing bigger challenges. Before long, you have built a track record with yourself. You know from experience that you can handle hard things. You know that the anticipation is always worse than the actual experience. You know that fear is just information, not truth. This knowledge changes everything. When an opportunity comes along that requires courage, you are no longer paralyzed. You have proven to yourself that you can face difficulty and come out the other side. This is the real breakthrough. It's not that fear disappears, it's that you stop letting fear make your decisions for you. The people who change their lives are those who have decided that facing what's hard is better than staying comfortable. They understand that growth is not found in comfort, it's found in the place that scares you. So they move toward that place, and with each step, they become braver, stronger, and more capable of creating the life they actually want. This courage is available to you right now. It doesn't require special permission or special conditions. It just requires that you decide that facing difficulty is worth it.
One of the most powerful insights in personal growth is this: you don't need to do everything at once. In fact, trying to do everything at once is often what stops people from doing anything at all. The solution is to start small. Find one thing, just one thing, that you've been avoiding or that you know would move you forward. Make it small enough that you can do it today. Make it real, make it concrete. Then do it. The moment you complete even a small action, something shifts. Your brain registers that you did what you said you would do. Your self-trust begins to rebuild. Your momentum begins to build. This is why micro-actions are so powerful. They create a snowball effect. You do one small thing, that creates energy for the next small thing. You do that, and now you have momentum for something slightly bigger. Before you know it, you're moving in ways that seemed impossible just hours before. The reason small actions work is because they lower the barrier to entry. You don't have to feel ready for something small. You don't have to feel perfectly motivated. You can just do it. And the act of doing it, even if it's small, proves that you can. This is the secret that successful people understand. They don't sit around waiting for big inspiration to strike. They take action on small things. They create momentum, and that momentum carries them through bigger challenges. Think about what feels stuck in your life right now. What is the smallest possible action you could take today that would move you forward even slightly? Not the perfect action, not the comprehensive plan, just one small thing. Make your bed. Send that email you've been avoiding. Take a 10-minute walk. Clean out one drawer. Drink a glass of water instead of soda. Read one page of that book. The size of the action doesn't matter as much as the fact that you're acting. Because each action is a vote. Each small step is a brick in the foundation of a better life. And when you string enough of these small actions together, they become habits. Habits become identity. Identity becomes destiny. This is how transformation works, not through one dramatic moment, but through consistent small actions over time. The beauty of starting small is that it's so easy to underestimate how powerful it is. People often think, what difference will this tiny action make? But they're missing the point. The action itself is less important than what the action proves about you. It proves that you can follow through. It proves that you're willing to do what's necessary. It proves that you're not waiting for perfect conditions. And that proof, that internal knowing that you can act, becomes your superpower. Every successful person on the planet started somewhere small. They had the same doubts, the same fears, the same obstacles, but they took action anyway. Not because they felt ready, but because they understood that readiness comes after action, not before. So the question is not whether you're ready, the question is whether you're willing to take one small step today. That's all growth requires, just one small step taken today.
Self-respect is not something you inherit or are granted. It's something you earn. You earn it through your actions. Specifically, you earn it by doing what you said you would do. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, no matter how small, your self-respect grows. Every time you break a promise to yourself, it erodes. This is a simple equation, but most people never see it clearly. They wonder why they feel bad about themselves, why they doubt their own abilities, why they don't trust themselves. And the answer is often that they have broken too many promises to themselves. They said they would do something and didn't. They committed to a habit and abandoned it. They promised themselves they would act, and instead they procrastinated. Each breach erodes the trust you have with yourself. The solution is to start rebuilding that trust through ownership and action. Ownership means accepting responsibility for your life exactly as it is right now. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop blaming other people. You stop blaming luck or timing. You simply acknowledge, this is my life, the way it is right now, and I am responsible for changing it. This is actually incredibly powerful because it means you are not helpless. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the creator of your current reality through the choices you've made. And therefore, you are also the creator of your future reality through the choices you make next. When you own your life completely, something shifts. You no longer waste energy explaining why things are the way they are. You invest energy in changing what you want to change. You no longer wait for external permission or external circumstances to improve. You improve yourself right now, exactly where you are. This is what mature, powerful people do. They don't complain about their circumstances, they change them. They don't wait for help, they help themselves. They don't look for excuses, they look for solutions. And through this process of taking ownership and acting, they rebuild their self-respect. The practical way to do this is to keep your promises to yourself. When you say you're going to do something, do it. Not because anyone is watching, not because you'll get rewarded, simply because you respect yourself too much to break your word. Start small. Make promises you know you can keep, then keep them. Build from there. As your self-respect rebuilds, you become capable of bigger commitments and bigger follow-throughs. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to believe in your ability to create change, and that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You act like someone who respects themselves. Others begin to respect you more as well. But more importantly, you respect yourself more. And when you respect yourself, you stop accepting mediocre. You stop settling. You demand better from yourself because you believe you deserve better. This is the transformation that comes from ownership and action. It doesn't happen through therapy or affirmations or reading more books. It happens through the simple, powerful act of keeping promises to yourself day after day until you build an unshakable foundation of self-respect.
Here is a truth that will either devastate you or liberate you, depending on your perspective. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to wake you up in the morning. No one is going to sit you down and fix your problems. No one is going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Your parents won't do it. Your friends won't do it. Your partner won't do it. Not because they don't care, but because they can't. No one else can live your life for you. No one else can make your choices for you. No one else can do the work that needs to be done. That responsibility falls entirely on you. This is the most important realization you will ever have in terms of personal growth. Because the moment you fully accept that no one is coming, you stop waiting. You stop hoping that circumstances will change without your intervention. You stop expecting someone to notice your potential and give you an opportunity. You realize that if anything is going to change, it has to be because you changed it. This is radical responsibility, and it is the doorway to real power. When you accept that you are entirely responsible for your life, you gain the ability to change it. As long as you're waiting for someone to rescue you, to help you, to fix things for you, you are powerless. You are a passenger in your own life. But the moment you decide that you are the one responsible for every aspect of your life, you become the driver. You have agency. You have control. You have power. The practical implication of this is that you must stop looking to others for permission, validation, or rescue. Stop asking your boss for permission to grow. Stop waiting for your partner to encourage you. Stop expecting your friends to believe in you. Believe in yourself. Take responsibility for your growth. Do what needs to be done because you decided it needed to be done, not because someone else told you to. This doesn't mean you're alone. It means you're the primary agent of your own change. You seek out mentors and teachers and friends who support your growth, but you understand that the work is yours to do. You listen to advice, but you make your own decisions. You let people inspire you, but you don't make your growth dependent on their belief in you. You are autonomous. You are responsible. And that is exactly how it should be. The tragedy is that most people spend their lives looking for someone to come and make things better. They wait for the right job to find them. They wait for someone to notice their talent. They wait for luck or circumstance to shift. And while they wait, their life passes them by. The alternative is to understand that you are the only one who can create the change you want to see. This puts all the power back in your hands. Stop looking for the magic solution. Stop waiting for the right opportunity. Stop expecting someone to believe in you. Instead, take radical responsibility for your life. Do what needs to be done. Keep your promises to yourself. Show up for yourself the way you would hope someone else would. And watch what happens when you stop waiting and start acting. Your life will change, not because someone came to rescue you, but because you rescued yourself. One of the greatest sources of overwhelm in modern life is trying to do everything. People say they want to improve, so they create a list of 50 things they're going to change. They're going to exercise more, eat better, read more, work harder, sleep better, meditate, journal, learn new skills, improve relationships. The list goes on. And within a week, they've abandoned all of it. Why? Because they tried to change everything at once.
This is a fundamental mistake. Real improvement is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. It's about identifying the one or two areas that are most critical to your life right now and focusing there. If you're eating junk food, sleeping poorly, and never exercising, those are the things pulling your life down. Start there. Don't also try to learn French and develop a meditation practice and reorganize your entire digital life. That's too much. Just pick the area that's most broken and fix it. Once that area is stable, move to the next. This is how you actually make progress. This is how you create lasting change. The key is focus. Focus is more powerful than effort. You can work hard on 100 things and make no progress, or you can work with sharp focus on one thing and make massive progress. The question is, what one thing, if you fixed it, would make the biggest difference in your life? Not the easiest thing, not the most impressive thing, the thing that would actually move your life forward the most. That's what you focus on. Everything else can wait. This is hard because everything seems important. Your mind tells you that you need to do it all, but you don't. You can't. The limitation is not your capability, it's your time, energy, and attention. So you have to be ruthless about what you say yes to and what you say no to. You have to understand that saying yes to everything means saying no to the things that matter most. Once you identify your priority, you organize your entire life around it. You cut out things that don't support it. You wake up thinking about it. You go to bed thinking about it. You make decisions based on whether they move you closer to this goal or further away. This single-minded focus is what separates people who achieve things from people who talk about achieving things. Most people are scattered. They're trying to move in 10 directions at once. The people who get results are those who pick a direction and move hard in that direction until they reach their destination. Then they pick a new direction. This is not about being obsessive, it's about being smart with your limited resources. You only have so much time, energy, and attention. The question is whether you're going to squander it on things that don't matter or invest it in things that do. This decision, more than any other, will determine the trajectory of your life.
Here is something most people don't understand about personal growth. When you change one significant behavior, it doesn't just affect that one behavior. It creates a ripple effect that impacts multiple areas of your life. If you start exercising regularly, you'll likely also start eating better because your mind starts identifying as someone who takes care of their body. If you stop scrolling mindlessly, you'll likely become more productive and focused in other areas. If you keep your space clean, you'll likely develop better habits across the board. This is the power of identity-based change. You are not just trying to change a behavior, you are trying to change how you see yourself. And once your identity shifts, your behaviors naturally align with that new identity. This is much more powerful than trying to change behaviors in isolation. If you say, "I'm going to exercise 3 times a week," you might do it for a while, but it's effort. You're fighting against your identity as someone who is not an exerciser. But if you say, "I'm becoming someone who takes care of their health," suddenly exercise becomes an expression of who you are, not something you have to force yourself to do. The key is to pick one behavior that, when changed, will create a cascade of positive effects. This is often a foundational habit. For many people, cleaning their space is this habit. When they clean their space, something shifts. They feel more in control. Their mind becomes clearer. They start making better decisions across the board. For others, it might be starting to move their body. For others, it might be stopping the mindless scrolling. The specific behavior matters less than the fact that it's significant enough to shift your identity. Once you commit to this change and stick with it for a while, you notice something remarkable. You start thinking of yourself differently. You begin to make other decisions that are consistent with this new identity. You find yourself naturally avoiding things that would contradict this new identity. This is not willpower. This is identity alignment. This is exponentially more powerful. The practical application is to identify one behavior that you want to change that would have the biggest ripple effect in your life. Commit to it completely. Don't try to change it a little bit. Change it completely. Stop doing the old behavior entirely. Do the new behavior consistently. And watch as your identity shifts. As your identity shifts, you'll find that other areas of your life naturally improve without you having to force them. This is the secret to creating lasting change. It's not about motivation. It's not about willpower. It's about identity. When you change who you are, your behaviors naturally follow.
There's a tendency to treat self-improvement as a trend. You get excited about it for a while, make some changes, feel good about yourself, and then gradually slip back into your old patterns. This is because you're treating it as something you do rather than something you are. Real self-improvement is not a trend. It's a promise you make to yourself. It's a commitment that you're going to keep, not because you feel like it, but because you respect yourself. The moment you reframe self-improvement as a promise rather than a trend, everything changes. A trend is something you do when you feel like doing it. A promise is something you do regardless of how you feel. A trend fades away. A promise endures. Think about the promises you make to other people. If you tell a friend you'll meet them at a certain time, you do it. You don't skip it because you're not feeling it. You don't cancel because you're tired. You honor your promise because you respect them and you care about your relationship. Now, apply that same level of commitment to your promise to yourself. If you say you're going to eat clean, then you eat clean. If you say you're going to exercise, then you exercise. If you say you're going to stop scrolling, then you stop scrolling. You do it not because you feel motivated, but because you respect yourself. This shift in perspective is powerful. It removes the emotional variable. You no longer need to feel like doing it. You just need to remember that you made a promise to yourself, and you honor that promise the way you would honor a promise to anyone you love. The problem is that most people don't take their promises to themselves seriously. They make them and break them repeatedly, and this erodes their self-respect. But when you decide that your promise to yourself is as important as your promise to anyone else, you begin to rebuild that self-respect. You become someone who can be trusted. And that trust, that knowledge that you keep your word, becomes the foundation of everything else. This is why self-improvement works for some people and not for others. It's not about motivation or talent or circumstances. It's about whether you treat your commitment to yourself as a promise or a trend. If it's a trend, you'll be inconsistent. If it's a promise, you'll be relentless. The question is, which are you going to choose? Are you going to treat your personal growth as something you do when you feel like it, or are you going to treat it as a sacred promise that you honor no matter what? Your answer to that question will determine whether you change or stay stuck.
Consistency is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It doesn't make for good stories, but it's the single most powerful force in personal transformation. Consistency is what turns one good decision into a habit. It's what turns a habit into a lifestyle. It's what turns a lifestyle into a destiny. Yet most people underestimate the power of consistency because they're looking for shortcuts, for quick wins, for dramatic transformations. They want to do something once and see massive results. But that's not how life works. Life rewards consistency. Life rewards showing up day after day and doing the thing even when no one is watching and you're not seeing immediate results. The reason consistency is so powerful is because it compounds. You meditate for 5 minutes today, it might seem like nothing, but you do it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Before you know it, you've meditated for 100 days straight. You've built a neural pathway. You've become someone who meditates. The same is true for any habit. You eat one healthy meal today, you eat another tomorrow. Before you know it, you're eating clean most of the time. You take one walk today, you take another tomorrow. Before you know it, you're active and strong. Nothing about this requires special talent or special circumstances. It just requires that you show up day after day and do the thing. This is the opposite of what the world tells you. The world wants you to believe in quick fixes and overnight success.
But the people who actually achieve things know the truth. There are no shortcuts. There is only consistent action over time. The beautiful thing about consistency is that it doesn't require perfection. You don't have to do it perfectly every single day. You just have to keep showing up. You have a bad day and skip your workout? That's okay. Show up the next day. You eat junk food? That's okay. Make a better choice next time. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to never stop, to keep the streak alive. Because every day you show up is a vote for the person you want to become. And when you cast enough of those votes, you become that person. The practical way to build consistency is to make your habits so small that they're impossible to skip. You don't commit to an hour at the gym. You commit to 10 minutes. You don't commit to reading 50 pages. You commit to 1 page. You make the commitment small enough that the only reason you could fail is if you actively choose to. And once you build the habit with this small version, you can expand it. But the key is to protect the consistency at all costs. The consistency is sacred. Everything else is negotiable. So the question is, what habit would change your life if you committed to it consistently? Not perfectly, just consistently. What one thing, if you did it every day for a year, would transform you? That's what you commit to. And then you show up day after day, regardless of how you feel, regardless of external circumstances, and you do the thing. That's all it takes. That's the secret that successful people know. Not that they're more talented or more lucky, just that they're more committed to showing up day after day and doing what needs to be done.
Look around the space you occupy right now. Look at your room, your desk, your kitchen, your car. Look at the clutter, the mess, the disorganization. What you are seeing is not just an accumulation of physical objects. It is a direct reflection of your internal state, your level of discipline, and your personal standards. The environment you allow around you is a mirror. It shows the world, and more importantly, shows you how much you value yourself and your life. This is not superficial. This is not about impressing others or achieving some aesthetic ideal. This is about recognizing a fundamental truth. The external environment shapes the internal experience. You cannot build a sharp, focused mind in the middle of chaos. You cannot maintain high standards in a low-standard environment. You cannot feel powerful and capable while surrounded by disorder and neglect. The psychological research on this is clear. When people live in clutter and disorder, their stress levels increase, their ability to focus decreases, their decision-making capacity diminishes, their mood deteriorates. They feel more anxious, more overwhelmed, more stuck. Conversely, when people create order in their physical space, they experience reduced stress, improved focus, better mood, and increased sense of control. This is not coincidence. This is physiology and psychology working together. Your brain is wired to respond to your environment. When your environment is chaotic, your nervous system stays in a state of low-level stress. There are too many stimuli. There are too many unresolved things demanding attention. Your brain never gets to relax. It's constantly processing the disorder around you. But when your environment is clean and organized, your nervous system can relax. Your brain can focus. You can think clearly. This is why cleaning your space is not a luxury or a vanity project. It's a foundational act of self-respect and self-improvement. When you clean your space, you're not just moving things around. You're making a statement. You're saying, I matter. My environment matters. I'm going to take responsibility for creating a space that supports my goals and my well-being. The act of cleaning also builds discipline in other areas. When you discipline yourself to clean your space, you're practicing the skill of discipline. You're practicing the ability to see something that needs to be done and do it regardless of whether you feel like doing it. You're practicing the ability to take action in the face of resistance. These are the exact skills you need for every other area of personal improvement.
The person who can discipline themselves to maintain a clean space is the same person who can discipline themselves to maintain a clean diet, a clean schedule, clean boundaries in relationships. It's all the same underlying skill, the willingness to do what's necessary, not what's comfortable. Start with what you can control right now. You don't need to buy organizing systems or hire a professional organizer. You just need to get up and start removing the things that don't belong. Throw away trash, wipe down surfaces, organize things into categories, make your bed, fold your clothes, hang things up, put things in their place. These actions might seem small in isolation, but cumulatively they transform your space. And as your space transforms, something shifts inside you as well. Your self-respect grows, your sense of control increases, your mind becomes clearer, your energy lifts, you feel lighter. This is the power of taking responsibility for your physical environment. It's not magic, it's not mysterious. It's the simple reality that your external world and your internal world are intimately connected. If you want to improve internally, start externally. Clean your space. Take care of your surroundings. Create an environment that reflects and supports the person you want to become. This single act, this commitment to order, will ripple through every other area of your life in ways you might not immediately anticipate, but you will feel it. You will feel the shift. And that feeling of control, that evidence that you can take action and create change, will fuel everything else.
One of the most underestimated aspects of personal transformation is how physical order creates psychological momentum. When you clean one area, you don't want to leave another area dirty. The order creates a standard. Once you've experienced the clarity and peace of an organized space, disorder becomes intolerable. This is not about perfectionism, it's about momentum. Momentum is the force that carries you forward. It's the opposite of inertia. Inertia is what keeps you stuck, doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, staying in the same place. Momentum is what moves you forward, what builds on itself, what creates acceleration. The question is, how do you create momentum? Most people think they need to feel motivated first. They think they need inspiration. They think they need the right circumstances. But that's backwards. Momentum creates motivation. Action creates inspiration. Engagement with your environment creates the emotional state that supports more action. This is why cleaning your space is such a powerful starting point. It creates immediate, visible results. You can see the difference. You can feel the difference. Your brain registers success, and that success creates momentum for the next action. Here's how it works. You clean one drawer. That takes maybe 15 minutes. When you're done, you look at that clean drawer and you feel good. Your brain releases a small amount of dopamine. This is the neurochemistry of success. Now that clean drawer sits next to a messy drawer. The contrast bothers you, so you clean that drawer too. Now you have two clean drawers. The momentum builds. You look at the messy closet and think, I should clean that. You do. Now your whole closet is clean. You look at the rest of your room and the disorder stands out even more sharply. You clean your room. You look at your desk and it seems obvious that it should be organized too. Before you know it, you've cleaned multiple areas. You've spent maybe an hour or two of focused work and your entire living space has been transformed. This is momentum. This is how change actually happens, not through motivation or inspiration or waiting to feel ready, through taking one small action that creates visible results and then letting that success fuel the next action. The remarkable thing about momentum is that it tends to stick around. Once you've experienced the satisfaction of order, once you've felt the clarity that comes from a clean space, you don't want to go back. You maintain the space. You keep it clean, not because you have to, but because you can't stand disorder anymore. Your standard has shifted. You've proven to yourself that you're capable of creating and maintaining order.
Now, disorder feels lazy. It feels like accepting less than you deserve. This shift in standard is critical. Most people never experience this shift because they never take action. They talk about cleaning their space someday. They think about how good it would feel, but they don't actually do it. So they never experience the momentum. They never feel the shift in their internal state that comes from creating external order. But when you actually do it, something changes. You're no longer someone who talks about improving. You're someone who improves. You're no longer someone who thinks about taking action. You're someone who takes action. And that shift in identity creates a foundation for everything else. The physical space becomes a constant reminder of your capability. Every time you walk into your clean, organized space, you're reminded, I can do hard things. I can create change. I can maintain standards. This is the power of momentum, created through environmental order. It's not just about the space, it's about what the space proves about you.
When we talk about cleaning your space, most people think about their physical environment. But there's another space that's equally important and that most people ignore completely: your digital environment. Your phone, your computer, your email, your social media accounts, your digital files. These spaces are just as cluttered as any physical space, if not more so. And just like physical clutter drains your mental energy, digital clutter drains your focus and cognitive capacity. Think about what your digital life looks like. How many apps do you have on your phone that you never use? How many browser tabs are open right now? How many emails are in your inbox? How many photos are on your phone? How many social media accounts do you follow that drain your energy? How many notifications are you receiving constantly throughout the day? All of this is noise. All of this is pulling your attention in different directions. All of this is creating a constant low-level distraction that prevents you from ever fully focusing on what matters. The problem is, the digital clutter feels less real than physical clutter. You can't see it taking up space. You can't physically feel the weight of it, but it's affecting you just as much as physical disorder. Every notification that pops up is an interruption. Every tab that's opened is a potential distraction. Every app you see on your phone is a choice to make. Each of these choices, each of these interruptions, each of these small distractions depletes your mental energy. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. Every decision you have to make consumes mental energy. By the end of the day, after making thousands of small decisions, you're exhausted. Your ability to make good decisions decreases. Your willpower depletes. Your focus fragments. This is why cleaning your digital space is as important as cleaning your physical space. Start by deleting apps you don't use. You're not going to use that meditation app that sounded good when you downloaded it 3 months ago. Delete it. You're not going to use that language learning app. Delete it. Clean out the clutter. Every app on your phone should serve a purpose or bring you joy. Everything else is just taking up mental space. Next, clean out your email. Unsubscribe from newsletters you don't read. Delete old emails. Create folders for things you want to keep. Get your inbox to 0. This might take a while if you have thousands of emails, but it's worth it. A clean inbox creates a sense of control and completion. Every time you open your email and see a clear inbox, you feel better. You feel more organized. You feel like you have your life together. Now, tackle your browser. Close all the tabs that have been open for weeks. You're not going to read those articles. You're not going to watch that video. Close them. If something is genuinely important, bookmark it. Then close the tab. Reduce your open tabs to just what you need for the work you're doing right now. Next, clean out your phone's photos and screenshots. Delete the ones you don't need. Organize the ones you keep into folders. This is therapeutic. You're literally removing digital junk from your life. Finally, and this is important, unfollow or mute accounts on social media that drain your energy. If someone's content makes you feel bad about yourself, unfollow them. If an account makes you compare yourself to others negatively, unfollow it. If content drains your energy, it has no place in your digital life.
You only get to follow a limited amount of content. Make sure it's content that uplifts, educates, or genuinely entertains you. The effect of cleaning your digital space is immediate and profound. Suddenly, you have fewer distractions. You get fewer notifications. Your mind isn't being pulled in so many directions. You can focus. You can think. You can work. And just like with physical space, cleaning your digital space creates momentum. It proves to you that you can take action. It creates a standard. And once you've experienced the clarity of a clean digital space, you'll want to maintain it. You'll think twice before downloading a new app. You'll be more selective about what you subscribe to. You'll be more intentional about what you follow. This intentionality extends to how you use technology in general. You become more deliberate. You stop mindlessly scrolling because you've cleaned out the accounts that would make mindless scrolling appealing. You stop reflexively checking your email because you've reduced the amount of incoming noise. Small actions, but they compound into a completely different relationship with technology. And that different relationship with technology gives you back time, energy, and focus that you didn't even realize you had lost. This is the power of cleaning your digital space. It's often overlooked, but it's one of the highest leverage actions you can take for your mental clarity and focus.
Here's something that most people don't understand. When you maintain a clean, organized space, you're not just maintaining an environment, you're maintaining an identity. You become someone who values order. You become someone who respects their space. You become someone who has standards and maintains them. This identity, once established, starts to influence every other decision you make. A person who maintains a clean space doesn't want to put junk in their body. A person who takes care of their physical environment doesn't want to waste their time on meaningless activities. A person who maintains order in their space doesn't want to accept disorder in their thinking or in their relationships. The identity compounds across all areas of life. Think about someone you know who has a reputation for being organized. That person probably has a lot of areas of their life together. Their finances are probably organized, their schedule is probably well managed, their relationships are probably clear and well-defined, their goals are probably clear. Why? Because organization is not just about physical space, it's about a mindset. It's about the belief that things should be in order, that clarity is important, that standards matter. This mindset, once developed, applies to everything. Conversely, think about someone you know who is consistently disorganized and messy. That person probably has disorder in multiple areas of their life. Their finances might be chaotic, their schedule might not be planned, their relationships might be unclear, their goals might be vague. Again, this is not coincidental. It's an identity. It's a belief system about how life should be. The good news is that you can change this identity. You can decide right now that you are someone who maintains order. You can start with your space. You can clean it, you can organize it, you can keep it that way. Every time you clean up something that got messy, you're reinforcing the identity. Every time you put something back in its place, you're voting for the person you want to be. Over time, this identity becomes automatic. You see disorder and you immediately feel the urge to fix it. You can't tolerate mess because it conflicts with who you are. This is the power of building identity through environment. It's not that you're forcing yourself to be organized. It's that you've become someone who is naturally organized because that's who you've decided to be. The practical benefit of this is that it requires less willpower and discipline. You're not fighting against your nature. You've shifted your nature. You've made order a part of your identity, so maintaining it feels natural, not forced. And the confidence that comes from maintaining this identity bleeds over into everything else. You trust yourself more. You believe in your ability to handle your life. You know that when you decide something is going to be a certain way, you follow through. This confidence becomes the foundation for bigger changes because you've proven to yourself in this small but visible way that you can be someone different. You can have standards and maintain them. You can create change and sustain it. You can be disciplined and organized and capable. Once you know this about yourself, not in theory, but in your actual lived experience, everything becomes possible. So, cleaning your space is not a trivial thing. It's a fundamental act of self-definition. It's saying to yourself, I'm someone who takes care of things. I'm someone who maintains standards. I'm someone who values order. I'm someone who respects themselves enough to live in a space that reflects that self-respect. And then, through your daily actions, you prove that statement to be true. Every time you clean, every time you organize, every time you put something back where it belongs, you're reinforcing this identity. And that reinforcement, day after day, creates an unshakable foundation of self-respect and capability.
One of the most persistent myths about personal change is that you need to feel motivated before you act. This is backwards. The truth is, motivation follows action. Energy follows action. Clarity follows action. When you feel stuck, when you feel unmotivated, when you feel like you don't have the energy to do what needs to be done, the solution is not to wait for motivation to appear. The solution is to act anyway, to take one small step, regardless of how you feel. Because the moment you take that step, something shifts. Your body wakes up, your mind engages, your energy begins to return. This is counterintuitive because it goes against what your feelings are telling you. Your feelings are saying, I don't have energy, I should rest. But what your feelings don't understand is that rest without activity actually depletes your energy further. Inactivity creates fatigue. Avoidance creates anxiety. Stillness creates heaviness. But movement creates energy. Activity creates momentum. Engagement creates clarity. This is why people often report that they feel worse after a day of procrastination and avoidance, even though they rested all day. They didn't actually rest. They stressed. They felt the weight of the unfinished. They battled with guilt and self-judgment. They drained themselves through mental conflict. But when they finally take action, even if it's hard work, they feel better. The weight lifts. The mental conflict resolves. They feel alive. This is the real nature of energy and motivation. It's not something you have or don't have. It's something you create through action. This has profound implications for how you approach your life. If you're waiting to feel ready, you're going to wait a long time. If you're waiting to feel motivated, you're going to wait indefinitely. Instead, you need to understand that readiness and motivation come after action, not before. You don't feel like going to the gym, so you skip it. Then you feel worse, more sluggish, more demotivated. You feel like going to the gym after you've gone, not before. You don't feel like cleaning your space, so you don't. Then you feel worse, surrounded by disorder that drains your energy further. You feel like cleaning after you've cleaned, after you see the results. You don't feel like working on your project, so you procrastinate. Then you feel worse, guilty and behind. You feel like working after you've started working, after you feel the momentum. The practical application is simple. Take action first, wait for the feeling later. Pick something that needs to be done, something you've been avoiding, something you know you should do but don't feel like doing. Do it anyway. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the right feeling. Just do it. And pay attention to what happens. Notice how your energy shifts. Notice how your mood improves. Notice how clarity emerges. This is proof. This is evidence that action creates motivation, not the other way around. Once you've experienced this a few times, you'll stop waiting for motivation. You'll understand that motivation is not the prerequisite for action. Motivation is the result of action. And knowing this changes everything. You stop being a slave to your feelings. You stop accepting the excuse that you don't feel like doing something. You simply do it. And the moment you do, the feeling catches up. This is the freedom that comes from understanding the true relationship between action and motivation. You are no longer dependent on your feelings to move forward. You move forward, and your feelings follow along.
One of the clearest measures of personal integrity is whether you do what you said you would do, especially when your mood changes. It's easy to commit to something when you're in a good mood, when you feel energized, when the idea sounds appealing. But the real test of integrity is whether you follow through when your mood shifts, when you don't feel like doing it anymore, when it seems harder than you expected, when you'd rather do something else. This is where integrity is built or destroyed. Every time you follow through on a commitment, despite a mood change, you prove to yourself that your word means something. You prove that you're not a slave to your emotions. You prove that you can be trusted by yourself and by others. Conversely, every time you let a mood change dictate whether you follow through, you prove that your word is worthless. You prove that your commitments are only as solid as your emotional state. You prove that you cannot be trusted. The accumulated effect of these choices determines your relationship with yourself. If you constantly break promises to yourself, you stop trusting yourself. You start to believe that you're weak, that you can't follow through, that your goals are just fantasies. But if you consistently keep promises to yourself, even small ones, you build an unshakable trust with yourself. You know that when you commit to something, you will do it. This knowledge becomes your foundation. It's the basis of your confidence. It's what allows you to take on bigger and bigger challenges, because you know that you keep your word. Here's the reality. Your mood is going to shift constantly. Some days you'll wake up energized and ready to tackle the world. Other days you'll wake up tired, frustrated, unmotivated. Some days you'll feel inspired. Other days you'll feel overwhelmed. This is normal. This is human. But your commitments shouldn't be based on your mood. Your commitments should be based on your values and your goals. If you said you would exercise, you exercise. If you said you would eat clean, you eat clean. If you said you would work on your project, you work on your project. Not because you feel like it, because you said you would. This is the essence of discipline. Discipline is not about motivation. Discipline is about honoring your commitments regardless of your emotional state. It's about recognizing that your feelings are temporary, but your commitments are binding. Now, this doesn't mean you should be rigid and inflexible. It means you should be intentional. When you make a commitment, think carefully about it. Make sure it's something you actually want and that it aligns with your values. Then, once you've made it, honor it. Don't revisit it every time your mood shifts. You said it, so you do it. The practical way to build this habit is to start with small commitments. Commit to something small that you know you can keep, then keep it, especially on days when you don't feel like it. This builds trust with yourself. Once you've built trust with small commitments, you can move to bigger ones, but the principle remains the same. You said it, so you do it. This is how you separate yourself from the masses. Most people are ruled by their moods. Their behavior changes based on how they feel. They're inconsistent, they're unpredictable, they're unreliable, even to themselves. But the people who achieve extraordinary things are those who have decided that their word is sacred, who have decided that they will do what they said, regardless of their emotional state, who have decided that integrity is non-negotiable. And because they are reliable to themselves, they become reliable to others. Because they keep their word to themselves, they keep their word to others. Because they trust themselves, others learn to trust them. And this reliability, this integrity, becomes the foundation of everything they build. One of the most frustrating cycles that many people find themselves in is the cycle of starting and stopping. You start a new habit with great enthusiasm. You're excited, you're committed, you're going to do this. You follow through for a few days, maybe a week or two, and then something happens. Your mood shifts, life gets busy, you slip up once, you miss a day, and instead of just getting back on track the next day, you fall completely off. You rationalize it. You tell yourself, I'll start over next Monday, or I'll begin again next month. And so you wait. And while you wait, the habit dies. The motivation fades. By the time next Monday or next month arrives, you've lost the momentum completely. You start again, usually with even more enthusiasm because you're trying to compensate for the guilt of having stopped. And the cycle repeats. You start, you stop, you wait, you start again, and you never actually build the habit.
This is one of the most common patterns that keeps people stuck. They're not failing because they're lazy or unmotivated. They're failing because they don't understand that perfection is not the goal. Consistency is the goal. And consistency is possible even with imperfection. The way to break this cycle is to change how you think about slips and mistakes. A slip is not a failure of the entire endeavor. It's just a slip. You slip, you get back up, you continue. The goal is not to never slip. The goal is to never break the streak of trying. Even if you miss a day, you don't miss the next day. You don't wait for some magical reset point. You get back on track immediately. This mindset shift is critical because the difference between someone who builds a habit and someone who doesn't is not perfection. It's the willingness to get back up. It's the decision to never make a skip turn into a complete abandonment of the goal. The practical way to do this is to make your commitments small enough that you can keep them even on your worst days. You don't commit to an hour of exercise. You commit to 5 minutes. You don't commit to reading an entire book chapter. You commit to 1 page. You don't commit to a perfect diet. You commit to making one healthy choice. These small commitments are so achievable that the only way you can fail is if you actively choose to. And once you've kept the commitment, momentum builds. You've done your 5 minutes of exercise. You feel good about that. You're more likely to do it tomorrow. You've read your 1 page, you feel accomplished. You're more likely to read tomorrow. You've made 1 healthy choice, you feel proud. You're more likely to make healthy choices tomorrow. The key is to never break the chain. Never let 1 slip turn into a complete stop. Even if you have a bad day, even if you only do half your commitment, you still do something. You still show up. You still maintain the streak of trying. Because the streak is what matters. The consistency is what builds the habit. The repetition is what rewires your brain and your identity. So the next time you slip, don't use it as an excuse to completely stop. Use it as a reminder to get back on track immediately. Slip once, get back up. Slip twice, get back up. The pattern is not about perfection. The pattern is about persistence, and persistence always wins over time.
Confidence is not something you were born with. It's not something you inherit or are granted by others. Confidence is built through evidence. It's built through a track record of following through on commitments. Every time you do what you said you would do, you add evidence to the file labeled, "I am someone who can be trusted." Every time you break a promise to yourself, you add evidence to the file labeled, "I am someone who cannot be trusted." Over time, these files become substantial. They become the foundation of how you see yourself. The tragedy is that most people have built a much more substantial file of broken promises than kept ones. They've spent years, sometimes decades, telling themselves they would do something and then not doing it. They've watched themselves fail to follow through so many times that they've stopped even believing their own commitments. When they say they're going to change, even they don't believe it. When they make a resolution, they laugh at themselves because they already know they won't keep it. This is the result of a long chain of broken promises to oneself. But the inverse is also true. If you start building a track record of keeping promises to yourself, your confidence will grow. It might start small. You commit to drinking water instead of soda for 1 week. You do it. Small evidence. You commit to a 10-minute walk every day for 2 weeks. You do it. More evidence. You commit to reading 1 page every day for a month. You do it. The evidence accumulates. Your file of "I am someone who keeps promises" grows thicker. And at a certain point, something shifts. You've built enough evidence that you start to believe it about yourself. You start to trust yourself. And that trust becomes the foundation of real confidence. This is exponentially more powerful than forced positive thinking or affirmations. You're not trying to believe something that isn't true. You're building evidence that makes the belief unavoidable. Real confidence is based on evidence. It's based on proven capability. And the way to prove capability is through follow-through. Here's what most people don't understand. The size of the commitment doesn't matter as much as the follow-through.
You might think that if you only commit to something small, it doesn't count, but that's wrong. A small commitment kept is far more valuable than a large commitment broken, because what you're building is a pattern. You're building evidence. You're building trust with yourself. The size of what you're doing is less important than whether you're actually doing what you said. So start small. Make commitments you know you can keep. Then keep them. Do this consistently. Build your evidence file and watch your confidence grow. You'll start carrying yourself differently. You'll speak with more conviction. You'll be less apologetic. You'll take on challenges that you wouldn't have taken on before because you know from experience that you can follow through. You'll stop needing external validation because you have internal evidence of your capability. This is the person you become when you build a track record of follow-through. You become someone who trusts themselves, and that's the most powerful kind of confidence there is. It's not the confidence that comes from being told you're great. It's the confidence that comes from knowing through your own experience that you're reliable, that you keep your word, that when you decide to do something, you do it. This confidence changes everything. It changes how you approach challenges. It changes what you believe is possible. It changes your trajectory. And it all starts with small promises kept.
Nobody is going to know about most of the discipline you exercise. Nobody is going to clap for you when you wake up early, make your bed, and get to work without being told. Nobody is going to celebrate with you when you choose the salad instead of the fries. Nobody is going to give you a medal when you stop yourself from scrolling and instead work on your project. These private moments, these invisible acts of discipline, are where real character is built. They are where you prove who you are when nobody is watching. This is important because most people's sense of self-worth is based on external validation. They do things to impress others. They accomplish things to be recognized. They make changes to be applauded. But this is a fragile foundation. When the applause stops, when nobody is watching, when there's no recognition coming, they stop doing the things. This is why so many people fall apart when they achieve success. They were doing it for the accolades, not for themselves. Once they have the accolades, the motivation disappears. But the people who build real, lasting success are those who do the work in the private moments, who show up when nobody is watching, who maintain their standards when there's no recognition coming, who do what's right because it's right, not because someone is watching. These private moments are where you build your integrity. They're where you prove to yourself that your word means something. They're where you develop the kind of character that doesn't depend on external circumstances or external validation. Think about your day. How many moments are there when you could cheat and nobody would know? You could skip your workout because nobody's checking. You could scroll instead of working because nobody's watching. You could eat junk food because nobody's judging. You could make a mean comment because nobody would hear it. These moments are everywhere. And how you handle these moments when you think nobody is looking is who you actually are. Everyone is good when people are watching. Everyone makes good choices when there's potential for recognition or punishment. But the person you actually are is revealed in the moments when nobody is watching. The person who wakes up early and works on their dream even though nobody will ever know about it. The person who treats people with kindness even when they'll never be thanked. The person who maintains their standards even when they could lower them without consequence. This is character. This is the foundation of genuine self-respect. When you build this kind of character, character that exists in the private moments, something profound shifts. You no longer need external validation. You no longer need recognition. You no longer need others to believe in you because you believe in yourself. You know what you've done in the private moments. You know what you've done when nobody was watching, and that knowledge is worth more than any applause. This is why the most powerful people are often the quietest. They're not seeking recognition. They're not trying to impress. They're simply doing what they believe is right in the private moments, day after day.
And that consistent discipline, that unwavering commitment to their standards in moments when nobody is watching, is what makes them extraordinary. So the next time you're in one of those private moments when you could cheat or cut corners or make an easy choice, remember that this is where real character is built. Nobody's watching, but you are. You're watching yourself, and you're building your character with every choice you make. Make it count.
Your feelings are real. They are valid. They deserve to be acknowledged and respected, but they should not be treated as instructions. Feelings are information, not directives. This is a critical distinction that most people never learn. When you feel sad, that's information. It's telling you that something matters to you and something is not right. But it's not an instruction to stop everything and wallow in sadness. When you feel anxious, that's information. It's telling you that there's a threat or uncertainty. But it's not an instruction to avoid the thing that's causing the anxiety. When you feel tired, that's information. It's telling you that your body needs rest. But it's not an instruction to abandon your commitments and do nothing. When you feel unmotivated, that's information. It's telling you that something isn't inspiring you, but it's not an instruction to stop working. The problem is that most people treat feelings as if they are instructions. They feel sad, and they think that means they should cancel plans and stay home. They feel anxious, and they think that means they should avoid the situation. They feel tired, and they think that means they should skip their workout. They feel unmotivated, and they think that means they should procrastinate. But this is giving feelings way too much power. Feelings are temporary. They shift and change based on countless factors. Your feelings this morning might be completely different from your feelings this afternoon. Your feelings today might be completely different from your feelings tomorrow. So if you let your feelings dictate your actions will be equally inconsistent and chaotic. You'll be all over the place. You'll make decisions you regret. You'll abandon important commitments. You'll stay stuck. The path to emotional mastery is to acknowledge your feelings while refusing to be ruled by them. You can feel sad and still do what needs to be done. You can feel anxious and still take action. You can feel tired and still show up. You can feel unmotivated and still work. This is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about feeling them fully while choosing your actions based on your values, not your emotions. Here's a practical example. You wake up and you don't feel like exercising. You feel tired. You feel unmotivated. Everything in you is saying, stay in bed, rest, skip it today. This is a critical moment. You have a choice. You can treat your feeling of tiredness as an instruction and stay in bed, or you can acknowledge the feeling. I'm tired. This is real. I feel it. And then choose to exercise anyway. If you choose the second option, something remarkable happens. You start exercising, your blood gets moving, your endorphins kick in, your body wakes up, your mind engages, and 15 minutes later, you feel completely different. You feel energized, you feel proud of yourself, you feel more capable. The feeling you had when you woke up turned out to be an unreliable information. If you had treated it as an instruction, you would have missed out on all of that. This is the key insight. Your feelings often improve after you take action, not before. You don't feel like going for a walk, but after you go for a walk, you feel better. You don't feel like working on your project, but after you work on it, you feel more energized and motivated. You don't feel like making a healthy choice, but after you make it, you feel proud and good. Your feelings are not accurate predictors of what will happen if you take action. In fact, they're often the opposite. The things that feel hard often feel great afterward. The things that feel like avoidance often feel terrible afterward. So the practice is to separate your feelings from your actions. Notice your feelings without being controlled by them. Say things like, I'm feeling tired right now and I'm going to exercise anyway. Or, I'm feeling unmotivated and I'm going to work anyway. Or, I'm feeling anxious and I'm going to take action anyway. This separation, this ability to feel something and still act according to your values, is emotional mastery. It's not about being emotionless, it's about being intentional. It's about being the director of your life rather than being directed by your emotions.
And when you develop this skill, you become powerful. Because now your life is not a roller coaster driven by your emotions. It's a ship steered by your values and your commitments. Your feelings are on the journey with you, but they're not in control of where you're going.
There is a voice inside your head that's talking to you constantly. It's commenting on everything. It's judging, it's criticizing, it's making comparisons, it's reminding you of failures, it's predicting doom. For most people, this voice is not supportive. It's not your ally, it's your enemy. And because this voice is inside your head, it's the most powerful influence on how you feel about yourself and what you believe is possible. If this voice is telling you that you're not good enough, that you'll never change, that you always fail, that you're weak, then you're hearing a message of limitation all day long. And you're believing it because it's coming from inside your head. It must be true, right? Wrong. That voice is not truth. That voice is habit. That voice is the accumulation of criticism you've heard from others, self-doubt you've created, failures you've magnified, and limiting beliefs you've adopted. But it's not the truth about who you are. And more importantly, you can change that voice. You can retrain it. You can make it your coach instead of your critic. The way to do this is to become aware of what that voice is saying and then deliberately replace it with something better. It's not about positive thinking or forced affirmations. It's about being honest with yourself while also being supportive of yourself. Start by noticing when your inner voice is being critical. You make a mistake and you hear yourself say, "I'm so stupid. I always mess things up. I'll never get this right." Stop. That's your old voice. Replace it with something more honest and more supportive. "I made a mistake. That's how humans learn. I'm going to figure out what went wrong and do better next time." Notice the difference? The second one is not denying that you made a mistake. It's acknowledging the mistake while also acknowledging your capacity to learn from it. Or you're facing a challenge and you hear yourself say, "This is too hard. I can't do this. I'm not capable." Stop. Replace it with, "This is challenging. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but I've done hard things before. I can figure this out." Again, you're not lying to yourself. You're being honest about the difficulty while also being honest about your capability. This practice of self-talk replacement is powerful because it directly challenges the limiting beliefs that have been running your life. Every time you replace a critical thought with a supportive one, you're voting for a new belief about yourself. Every time you hear the old voice and consciously choose a new response, you're weakening the old pattern and strengthening a new one. Over time, the new voice becomes your default. Your self-talk shifts. Your inner dialogue becomes more supportive. You're more likely to take risks. You're more likely to persist through difficulties. You're more likely to believe in yourself. And all of this comes from something that's free and available to you right now, the power to choose what you say to yourself. Here's the thing. You wouldn't talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself. If a friend made a mistake, you wouldn't say, "You're so stupid. You always mess things up." You'd be compassionate. You'd offer support. You'd remind them that they're capable. You'd encourage them to try again. So why don't you do that for yourself? Why is your inner voice harsher than you would ever be to someone else? Part of the answer is that we've been trained to be self-critical. We've heard criticism from parents, teachers, coaches, peers. We've internalized that criticism as the truth about ourselves. But it's not the truth. It's just information that was given to you, and you chose to believe it. But you can choose something different. You can choose to become your own coach. You can choose to speak to yourself with the same compassion and encouragement you would offer a friend. And when you do, everything changes. You feel better. You believe in yourself more. You're more likely to take action. You're more likely to persist. You're more likely to grow. This is not about pretending everything is fine. This is about being honest with yourself while also being in your own corner. And when you're in your own corner, when you're supporting yourself, when you're coaching yourself through challenges, you become unstoppable.
The brain is an incredibly powerful organ, but it's also trainable. It responds to repetition. It believes what you tell it repeatedly. If you tell your brain that you're not good enough, it will find evidence of that. It will focus on your failures, magnify your weaknesses, filter out evidence of your capability. If you tell your brain that you're improving, it will look for evidence of improvement. It will notice progress, remember successes, notice growing capability. The brain doesn't care what's objectively true. The brain cares what's repeated. This is why affirmations can be so powerful, even though they might sound cheesy or fake. The point is not to lie to yourself. The point is to train your brain to look for different evidence. When you say, "I am becoming stronger," you're not denying current reality. You're giving your brain a directive to look for evidence of strength and growth, and it will. It will start noticing small ways that you're getting stronger. It will remember past instances of strength. It will recognize growing capability. This is not magic. This is how the brain works. The problem with traditional affirmations is that people often try to affirm something that contradicts their current experience. They say, "I am confident," when they actually feel terrified. The brain rejects this because it doesn't match reality. But if you make the affirmation more accurate to where you are, while still pointing in the direction you want to go, it works. Instead of "I am confident," you could say, "I'm learning to be confident," or "I'm building confidence through action," or "Every day I'm becoming more confident." These statements are true right now. You are learning, you are building, you are becoming, while also directing your brain toward growth. The science backs this up. Research on affirmations shows that they work best when they're specific, when they're believable to the person, and when they're aligned with meaningful goals. The key is believability. Your brain won't accept something that feels like a lie, but it will accept something that points toward truth while acknowledging current reality. Here's a practical approach. Take an area where you struggle. Let's say you struggle with following through on commitments. Your old negative thought might be, "I never follow through, I'm lazy and undisciplined." This is the lie you've been telling yourself. Now create an affirmation that's more truthful and more positive. "I'm building a track record of following through. Every time I keep a commitment, I prove to myself that I'm capable." This is true. You might not have a long track record yet, but every commitment you keep is evidence. You're building something. Or let's say you struggle with your health. Your old negative thought might be, "I have no willpower, I'll never be healthy." The affirmation, "I'm learning to make choices that support my health. Every healthy choice I make is evidence that I'm changing." Again, true. You might not be perfectly healthy yet, but every healthy choice is evidence of change. The practice is to use these affirmations consistently. Say them to yourself in the morning. Say them when you're struggling. Say them when you're about to make a choice. The more you repeat them, the more your brain starts to believe them. And as your brain starts to believe them, your behavior starts to align. You're more likely to make choices consistent with the person you're affirming. You're more likely to notice evidence of the affirmation being true. You're more likely to grow into the person you're affirming. This is not magical thinking. This is neuroscience. The brain responds to repetition. So if you're going to repeat something to yourself all day anyway, which you will because that inner voice never stops talking, you might as well make it something useful. Make it something that supports your growth instead of limiting it.
Look at how you spend your time. Be honest. Not the time you spend on important things. Not the time you spend being productive. The time you spend scrolling. Scrolling social media. Scrolling news feeds. Scrolling through videos. Scrolling mindlessly through apps. How many hours a day? How many hours a week? If you honestly tracked it, you might be shocked. Most people lose 2 to 4 hours a day to mindless scrolling. 2 to 4 hours. That's 30 to 60 hours a week. That's 120 to 240 hours a month. That's 1,460 to 2,920 hours a year. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing that moves your life forward. Nothing that makes you stronger. Nothing that gives you clarity. Just more noise, more opinions, more things you didn't need to know, more content that was designed to keep you scrolling. This is not an accident. The apps are specifically designed to be addictive. They use the same psychological principles that are used in slot machines. They trigger the reward centers in your brain. They create patterns of variable reward that are incredibly hard to resist. Every time you scroll, you might see something interesting or amusing. You might not, but you don't know which, so you keep scrolling. That uncertainty, that variable reward pattern, is what makes it so addictive. The platforms know this. They've hired thousands of engineers to make their apps more addictive. They're not trying to help you. They're trying to capture your attention, because attention is their product. You are not the customer. You are the product being sold to advertisers. Your attention is being sold, and you're trading away hours of your life in exchange for brief hits of stimulation. This is one of the clearest examples of trading your future for your immediate comfort. Every time you scroll instead of working on your goals, you're making a choice. You're choosing immediate stimulation over long-term progress. You're choosing comfort over growth. This choice, made thousands of times, accumulates. It's the difference between someone who builds something meaningful and someone who watches others build things. It's the difference between someone with clarity and someone with mental fog. It's the difference between someone who trusts themselves and someone who feels weak for not being able to resist. The solution is radical. Delete the apps. Seriously, you don't need to check social media multiple times a day. You don't need the constant stream of news. You don't need to watch random videos. Delete the apps off your phone. If you need to check something, you can still do it on your computer, but the friction of having to pull up a browser and log in is enough to stop most mindless scrolling. You'll be shocked at how much time this frees up and how much clearer your mind becomes. If deleting feels too extreme, you can use app limiters that restrict how much time you can spend on specific apps each day. But honestly, the app limiters don't work as well as deletion, because you can usually override them. Deletion is more effective, and the first few days without the apps will be uncomfortable. Your brain will crave the stimulation. You'll feel bored. You'll reach for your phone habitually. But push through. After a week or two, something shifts. You stop craving it as much. Your attention span returns. Your mind becomes clearer. You notice how much more time you have. You notice how much better you feel. And you realize what a waste those hours of scrolling were. Here's the thing. Nobody on their deathbed wishes they had scrolled more. Nobody regrets not spending more time on social media. People regret not working on their dreams. They regret not spending time with loved ones. They regret not taking care of their health. They regret not doing the things that actually mattered. So if you want to live a life you're proud of, you have to stop trading your future for your present comfort. You have to delete the apps, or at least severely restrict them. You have to take back your attention. You have to reclaim your time. And you have to start using that time to build something that matters.
There comes a moment in almost everyone's day, sometimes multiple times, where the body feels heavy, the energy dips, and the mind starts looking for an escape. In that moment, most people reach for something quick, something that provides immediate relief or pleasure. It might be sugary food, salty snacks, caffeine, or something else that provides a quick hit. But this is the exact moment when you need to make the opposite choice. This is the exact moment when eating right matters the most. When your body wants to quit, it doesn't need junk, it needs fuel. It needs something that will genuinely support your energy, your focus, and your resilience. But here's the trap. The thing your body is craving in that moment is usually not the thing that will actually help you. Your body is exhausted and stressed, so it craves sugar and fat for quick energy. Your mind is foggy, so it craves caffeine. Your emotions are low, so it craves comfort food. But these are quick hits, followed by crashes. The sugar provides energy for 30 minutes and then leaves you more tired than before. The caffeine provides a boost but disrupts your sleep and depletes your system.
The comfort food provides emotional relief momentarily but leaves you feeling worse afterward. This is the trap of using food as medicine for problems that food can't actually fix. Food is fuel. It should be treated that way. When you're tired, you need actual fuel. Nutrients, proteins, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates. When you're stressed, you need to fuel your system properly so it can handle the stress. When you're emotional, you need nutrition to support your emotional regulation, not temporary relief, real support. The problem is that eating right in those moments requires discipline. It requires choosing something you have to prepare or seek out, rather than reaching for the easily available junk. It requires overriding your impulse. It requires remembering that your body is asking for support, not indulgence. But here's the truth. Every time you eat right when your body wants to quit, you're sending a message. You're saying, I care about myself too much to destroy my energy and my health with junk. You're proving that you're willing to do what's necessary, not what's easy. You're building a foundation of self-respect and self-care that extends far beyond nutrition. And you're building the discipline that carries over into every other area. So when that moment comes, and it will come, probably multiple times today, pause, feel the craving, acknowledge it, and then make a choice. Choose something that's actually going to fuel your body. Drink water instead of soda. Eat nuts instead of chips. Eat a piece of fruit instead of candy. Eat a protein-rich meal instead of processed food. The specific choice matters less than the act of choosing to support yourself rather than undermine yourself. And every choice you make correctly in these moments builds your foundation. Every time you resist the easy choice and make the hard choice, you prove that you can be trusted with your own health. You prove that you respect yourself. You prove that you're willing to do what's necessary. And that proof, accumulated over time, becomes unshakable self-respect.
There will be days when your body feels like it's running on empty. The weight of stress, poor sleep, bad diet, and endless thoughts will press down on you. You want to sit still. You want to avoid effort. You want to rest. And in that moment, the worst thing you can do is listen to that impulse. The worst thing you can do is stay still. Because stillness, when you're already low energy, doesn't give you rest. It gives you more heaviness. It gives you mental fog. It keeps you in the low energy state. But movement, even light movement, breaks that pattern. Movement is medicine. It's one of the most powerful tools you have for shifting your mental and emotional state. When your body is stuck, your mind gets stuck with it. But when you move your body, something shifts. Your blood gets moving. Your nervous system wakes up. Your brain starts getting oxygen. Your muscles start contracting. And your mental state shifts with it. You don't have to do an intense workout. You don't have to run a marathon. You just need to move. A 10-minute walk can shift your entire state. Some gentle stretching can clear mental fog. A few minutes of movement can give you energy that sitting for hours cannot. This is why the most productive people often build movement breaks into their day. They're not taking a break from work. They're taking a break that makes them better at work. They know that 5 minutes of movement will return them to work with more focus, more clarity, and more energy than another 30 minutes of sitting would provide. The science backs this up. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, stimulates the production of endorphins, and improves cognitive function. It's not just good for your body, it's essential for your mind. So, when your energy is low and your motivation is gone, that's often the exact moment you need to move the most. Not rest, not sitting, movement. The resistance you feel to moving is often a sign that movement is what you need. When everything in you is saying, I'm too tired to move, that's when moving will have the biggest impact. You don't need to feel ready to move. You just need to start small. Stand up and stretch. Take a walk around your house. Do a few jumping jacks. Roll your shoulders. Do some yoga. The movement itself doesn't matter as much as the fact that you're moving. And the moment you start, you'll notice a shift. Your body wakes up. Your mind engages. Your energy lifts. The tiredness you felt was often not true physical exhaustion. It was mental fog, stress, or lack of engagement, and movement clears all of that.
This is why movement is such a powerful tool for people dealing with depression, anxiety, or low motivation. It's not a cure, but it's a tool that works. It's available to you right now. It costs nothing, and it works immediately. So the next time you feel like your energy is low and you want to quit, don't reach for rest. Reach for movement. Move your body and watch as your mental clarity returns, your energy lifts, and your sense of possibility expands.
You can talk about goals all day. You can write them down. You can visualize them. You can tell everyone about them. But none of that matters if you're not actually taking action. Your actions are the truth. Your intentions are meaningless without action. This is why tracking your actions is so critical. Not tracking your feelings, not tracking your intentions, tracking what you actually do. Every day, at the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I actually do today to move toward my goals? Write it down. Write down the concrete actions you took. And be honest. Did you work on your project? Did you eat clean? Did you exercise? Did you skip social media? Did you read? Did you have the difficult conversation? Did you follow through on your commitment? Don't write down what you meant to do. Write down what you actually did. This simple act, this honest accounting of your actions, is incredibly powerful. First, it removes the illusion of effort. You can feel like you worked hard all day and still have accomplished very little. But when you write down your actions, it becomes clear. It becomes specific. You can't hide behind vague language like, I was productive today. You have to specify. I worked on my project for 1 hour. I made 3 sales calls. I sent 5 emails. Specific, measurable, real. Second, tracking your actions lets you see patterns. If you track for a week, you start to see what you're actually spending your time on. You might think you're working on your goal, but tracking reveals that you're spending most of your time on distractions. This visibility is painful but necessary. You can't change what you don't see. Third, tracking builds accountability. When you know you're going to write down what you did, you're more likely to do things worth writing down. When you know you're going to face that honest accounting, you're more likely to take action. And fourth, tracking builds momentum. You see yourself actually doing things. You see yourself making progress, even small progress. That evidence of movement builds motivation for more movement. The tracking doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be in a fancy journal or a special app. Just a simple list. Every day, write down the actions you took that moved you forward. That's it. And at the end of the week, look back. Look at what you accomplished. Look at the patterns. Look at where you spent your time. Look at where you could do better. Then recommit. Then adjust. Then do it again the next week. Over time, this simple practice transforms your life because you're not relying on motivation. You're not relying on feelings. You're relying on data, real data about what you're doing. And that data is far more reliable and useful than any feeling or intention. Most people don't fail because they don't want to succeed. They fail because they don't see clearly where they actually are. They live in stories about how hard they're working or how much progress they're making, when the reality might be different. But when you track your actions, the reality becomes undeniable. And in that clarity, real change becomes possible. So start today. At the end of today, write down what you actually did. Be honest. And then tomorrow, use that information to do better.
Look around the space you occupy right now. Look at your room, your desk, your kitchen, your car. Look at the clutter, the mess, the disorganization. What you are seeing is not just an accumulation of physical objects. It is a direct reflection of your internal state, your level of discipline, and your personal standards. The environment you allow around you is a mirror. It shows the world, and more importantly, shows you how much you value yourself and your life. This is not superficial. This is not about impressing others or achieving some aesthetic ideal. This is about recognizing a fundamental truth. The external environment shapes the internal experience. You cannot build a sharp, focused mind in the middle of chaos. You cannot maintain high standards in a low-standard environment. You cannot feel powerful and capable while surrounded by disorder and neglect.
The psychological research on this is clear. When people live in clutter and disorder, their stress levels increase, their ability to focus decreases, their decision-making capacity diminishes, their mood deteriorates. They feel more anxious, more overwhelmed, more stuck. Conversely, when people create order in their physical space, they experience reduced stress, improved focus, better mood, and increased sense of control. This is not coincidence. This is physiology and psychology working together. Your brain is wired to respond to your environment. When your environment is chaotic, your nervous system stays in a state of low-level stress. There are too many stimuli. There are too many unresolved things demanding attention. Your brain never gets to relax. It's constantly processing the disorder around you. But when your environment is clean and organized, your nervous system can relax. Your brain can focus. You can think clearly. This is why cleaning your space is not a luxury or a vanity project. It's a foundational act of self-respect and self-improvement. When you clean your space, you're not just moving things around. You're making a statement. You're saying, I matter. My environment matters. I'm going to take responsibility for creating a space that supports my goals and my well-being. The act of cleaning also builds discipline in other areas. When you discipline yourself to clean your space, you're practicing the skill of discipline. You're practicing the ability to see something that needs to be done and do it regardless of whether you feel like doing it. You're practicing the ability to take action in the face of resistance. These are the exact skills you need for every other area of personal improvement. The person who can discipline themselves to maintain a clean space is the same person who can discipline themselves to maintain a clean diet, a clean schedule, clean boundaries in relationships. It's all the same underlying skill, the willingness to do what's necessary, not what's comfortable. Start with what you can control right now. You don't need to buy organizing systems or hire a professional organizer. You just need to get up and start removing the things that don't belong. Throw away trash, wipe down surfaces, organize things into categories, make your bed, fold your clothes, hang things up, put things in their place. These actions might seem small in isolation, but cumulatively they transform your space. And as your space transforms, something shifts inside you as well. Your self-respect grows, your sense of control increases, your mind becomes clearer, your energy lifts, you feel lighter. This is the power of taking responsibility for your physical environment. It's not magic, it's not mysterious. It's the simple reality that your external world and your internal world are intimately connected. If you want to improve internally, start externally. Clean your space. Take care of your surroundings. Create an environment that reflects and supports the person you want to become. This single act, this commitment to order, will ripple through every other area of your life in ways you might not immediately anticipate, but you will feel it. You will feel the shift. And that feeling of control, that evidence that you can take action and create change, will fuel everything else.